Hi, this is Sherry Shabowski from Medical Education in Minutes, and today we're going to talk about inflammation. As I'm sure anyone who has ever had a bad ankle sprain can tell you, inflammation is characterized by heat, redness, swelling, and pain. All of those reactions result in difficulty moving the area, which keeps you from causing further damage. Did you ever wonder how it happens? Tissue damage and or a pathogen breach of protective barriers triggers an inflammatory response to eradicate the pathogen. Inflammation is like the napalm previously used in wars to utterly destroy everything in the area. It is the original scorched earth. Sure, it kills the enemy, but it also kills your own soldiers, innocent people, animals, and the environment. Like napalm, inflammation is exceptionally nonspecific, but attempts to immediately stop a potentially devastating invasion. Well, how does it work? Well, resident cells under the epithelial barrier recognize the invasion and calls in the napalm. In the picture, we're showing a splinter that comes through the skin. The resident cells recognize the damage associated molecular proteins from the tissues and the pathogen associated molecular proteins. Once activated, the resident cell calls for help by releasing chemical mediators that dilate the capillaries and open the spaces between the endothelial cells and the capillaries so the modulators and fluid can flood in. Once the fluid and modulators flood in, the white blood cells follow. The white cells are drawn to the damaged area by following the concentration of gradient of chemokines. The nerves are activated by stretch receptors from the swelling and from bradykinin in the fluid. Once they get there, they either eat up the pathogens or puke their destructive lysosomes on the area. White blood cells puke the napalm that we were talking about earlier. This is done with lysosomes that release enzymes. Also, with peroxisomes, which release destructive reactive oxygen species in the area. This is literally the equivalent of napalm on the tissues. Here we see a picture of many white cells puking their enzymes and oxygen-free radicals like napalm and leaving a lot of destruction behind. We talked earlier about the pillars of inflammation. They include redness, which comes from the dilation of vessels in the area caused by the chemokines released from the activated resident cells. Swelling comes from the flood of fluid and inflammatory mediators that come into the area when the endothelial cells leave space for them to get in. Pain comes from the bradykinin release and the stretching of tissues due to swelling. Warmth will come from the increased blood flow to the area. All right, hopefully you have a better understanding of what inflammation is now. This is Sherry Shabowski from Medical Education in Minutes.com. That is a website that has a lot of longer versions explaining different topics in medicine quickly and in a memorable fashion for you. Additionally, you can follow me on Facebook or YouTube. All right, thanks for learning with me today. See you next time.